I'll be frank with you. I'm not entirely sure what this emotion is. I've tried to give it several titles and several names, but honestly, I don't know. When I'm drawing these portraits, I'm not actually trying to fit too much into the technicality of how you're supposed to draw things. Instead, I'm trying to formulate illustrations based off of imagery and ideas and things that are rushing through my mind. Interestingly, this was the starter portrait. I saw a lot of sadness in my life at the time. I do know that's why there's a lot of tears, but I felt like there was a lot of unintentional growing. So maybe that was why the third eye. I'm not sure. I felt frustrated, and maybe like my words were venomous and dangerous, and that they were creepy. And perhaps that's why there's a centipede. But maybe I also felt like I needed to protect myself, and that's why there's thorns. Like, this piece had so many emotions, it was literally just a vortex. And it was the first one. So if you follow me on Instagram, you probably have seen some of these portraits as they were incoming. They've kind of become a meditation for me. It's kind of insane how important they are for kind of mental health purposes for me nowadays. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this particular artist. Her name is Lulu Von Hoagland. You'll have to forgive me. The last part of it, I can't really pronounce that well. I'll link her stuff in the description. But she was my first inspiration to give these a go. She takes her art and she adds a twist to it. It's absolutely fantastic. I actually met her at a comic convention in Altoona, PA, and she's very lovely. Everything about her style is just my cup of tea, so I cannot sing her praises enough. I actually bought this pin from her because I totally could feel it, and she's actually told me it was her most popular, and it just made me laugh because I was like, well, everyone can relate to this. It's amazing. But I bring her up because these simple portraits was the first time my brain sort of went, I feel emotion in these, and I really want to put my own emotions down. I have spent several years attempting to learn art formally, and I'll just spare you the grief. I'm a terrible formal artist. Absolutely terrible, because I cannot for the life of me get behind anyone who tells me what I should see, what I should think, anything. Absolutely not. Cannot do. I suspended all of my personal irritations with formal art training because I really wanted to try to put my all in and be like, okay, maybe you're just being dramatic. Maybe you can do this and you need to just get off your ass and start working. When I went to school, I spent so much time actually planning out artwork and learning how I was actually planning how to plan artwork, which, you know, when you're growing up, you don't even think about it. You're like, I'm just going to draw. But you lose that by going to art school. Well, I lost it. I lost the ability to just draw. I felt like I had to plan everything out, and I couldn't draw, and I couldn't do anything. It was so frustrating. I went months without really drawing at one point because I physically could not commit to what I was putting on paper because I didn't have it all planned out, and I didn't have symbolism, and it didn't have traditional meaning. Like, it was a nightmare. It's bad for the autistic brain to say you must do it this way because then we forget that actually there are multiple ways to do it, and academia land is totally different from how things work in the real world. Sad but true. I had completely lost the ability to just sit down and doodle. Like, I can't describe how stupid and frustrating it was. Stupid in the sense that I knew I could still doodle, I still have the skills to do it, but I couldn't do it because I hadn't planned out some crisis in the artwork for it to actually mean something. So I started drawing these portraits this year. Now, they don't have any particular person in mind or reference. They are more feeling than they are actual portrait. They're supposed to be the complexity of emotions as I felt them and as they grew. My original pieces for this particular piece was actually really small, and I showed it on Instagram early because it was one of the pieces I was actually really proud of and really enjoyed making. But I've wanted these portraits to actually have their own space to fully express the range of emotions and confusions that I was feeling. And it turned out the best way to do this was to take these little dollops of thought and then to expand them into a full-time illustration, because these dollops of thought were emotion, like raw emotion that were just as is sort of deal. So when I took it, I would expand on it and it would become an actual piece, which felt more cohesive and more polished raw, if that makes sense. Like, the feeling is still raw, but it's polished. It doesn't have any rough edges to it. I think, too, for this piece, the added flowers and vines, the movement, it helped better express the turbulence of emotions that seemed to be a part of my life at the time I did this simple drawing. I felt so overwhelmed, and when I finally was able to take these small thoughts and put them on paper, I actually have found that I've been doing a lot better since then. And I think it's kind of amazing, the healing quality of art. And I think that's what I kind of hope to share with these portraits. It's true what they say, art really is an outlet. It's a way to express yourself. But sometimes I think we do ourselves a disservice focusing on how will this benefit me, or how do I make a statement, or whatever. And we forget that, first and foremost, we did this because it brought joy to our lives and allowed us to process complex feelings and emotions that maybe we weren't prepared for. In my case, I certainly wasn't. And in other cases, helped you process maybe emotions that you were struggling with as you looked at them. I found a lot of peace once I had completed this emotion. Remember, guys, I still have my Etsy shop, and if you need some handy-dandy stencils to organize your sketchbook, I've got them available, and I do custom orders if you need me to resize them or change the shape. I'm more than happy to do that. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you again next week for another video.